thank you, Shubham, for joining us today at the Plumbers conference, and thank you for helping us make it happen. So Shubham here has a very interesting task, being community developer in a hardware company. So what does the community mean for you, and how do you even start thinking about doing this job, creating that community?
First of all, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be a part of it. It's a very interesting question. Community for an AI hardware company, it's a lot of things. So when you have to think about it, we are indeed an AI hardware company, but there's a big software part involved in it. We have entire open source hardware, open source software, we have AI hardware. So when we look at our community for Tenstorrent, it is really divided into like three key spectrums, which is low-level developers, compiler engineers, people who are dealing with MLIR, operations, kernels, etc. Then we have model builders, people who are interacting with TensorFlow, PyTorch, then high-level developers. So we need to really bring a mix of all these people together, and it's kind of challenging, but conferences like these, AI Plumbers conference especially, where we talk about everything from low-level AI engineering and go all the way to AI agents, RAG, AI applications. This kind of stuff really helps us to put it all together.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. We just had the breakout session to figure out what people are interested in this dev room. And a lot of questions were about compilers, about specialized kernels, about even rewriting graph in GGML. So all of this low-level stack. So this is mainly the audience right here. So what conferences do you go to get also the model builders and the rest of the stack?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So just the depth of this thing and the breadth of this thing really surprises me. People are interested in all kind of stuff from very low level to super high level. So for low level, we do these kind of conferences, but for high level, we go in normal AI conferences where the focus is more on AI application. So to better understand our community, to better understand the spectrum that Tenstorrent operates in, we need to really look at the three layers that enables the entire ecosystem, which is the hardware, software, and application layer. And that's how we try to attack or build sort of our community. So for hardware and software, it's a mix of compiler engineers, it's a mix of integration engineers where we attend these kind of conferences. For a layer above where people like model builders, people interested in TensorFlow, PyTorch, so we go to PyTorch conferences, AI engineer conferences, and then we have a bigger chunk of people who is just above the stack, so people interested in using APIs, Llama as an APIs or big data center players. So these are actually big data center customers where we go in conferences like AWS reInvent, stuff like that, where we find those kind of clients and customers.
So what's your experience with, those are more vendor-driven conferences, and FOSDEM is purely open source. There are literally no vendors, and same as in this room. So what's your feeling? How is it different? Do you change your approaches when you go into those conferences? What do you like more?
Definitely, and that's what makes it a super challenging job. Like, these are two different extremes. Conferences like FOSDEM, this is completely open source, developer driven. The approach is more hands-on, where you talk about actual stuff, you talk about open source code, GitHub, and all those things. On the other hand, when you go to a little bit higher level conferences where you're talking on a high level spectrum or on a more abstracted level, you focus more on demos, you focus more on the commercial aspect of things, you focus on ROI, all those kind of things. And that's what really make it more interesting and challenging the job of developer relations person when they are operating at this kind of extremities where you have to cater to really low level developers and getting more hands-on, while on the other hand, you have big clients and customers who are looking more for solving a particular problem, and they're just looking for a solution that's affordable, that's accessible, that gives them the best ROI. So two different extremes, completely different approaches, but that's what makes this role super interesting.
Yes, one of the speakers, Felix, actually said meeting developers where they're at, and what you're talking about also meeting vendors where they're at, and I guess meeting model builders where they're at. So basically integrating yourself in all the existing communities.
Yeah, and that also reflects in the software approach that we have. If you look at our software stack, we start from the top-down approach. We take a top-down approach. We start all the way from model builders, where anybody who's familiar with PyTorch, TensorFlow, who is using that kind of framework can come in, use Tenstorrent hardware through our compiler, which is Forge MLIR. Similarly, anybody who has experience with MLIR or who is a compiler engineer can get in through that. So, and then we have TTN and TT Metallium, which is the lower level of the stack, where people who are familiar with C, C++ can come in and be a part of that ecosystem. So to really understand Tenstorrent, it is one ecosystem with multiple entry points. So irrespective of what your developer profile is, you can come in and be a part of that ecosystem. So it truly reflects in our software approach, hardware approach, and that's what we need to follow when we are thinking about developer relations or building a community. We need to take all of them with us and have that approach where we can easily cater to lower level of audience through all our open source initiatives, but at the same time, we have the right set of demos, we have the right set of case studies, we understand and explain what the product is, what the ROI is, to cater high level and audience with more abstracted level of understanding.
So what I really loved yesterday at our AI dev room at FOSDEM, that there were 2 talks related to Tenstorrent, but both from community members. So one was basically just scoping out the chip itself, the wormhole, and another was talking about porting GGML to the chip. But both, I was really surprised, especially the first one. I think the guy just got Tenstorrent online, just bought it for himself and started working. So this is, I think, the exact community approach, like when community actually wants to get it themselves and just start hacking and start talking and start writing and come to FOSDEM and tell about their experience. So that's, I think, the great way to engage with community. So like, what other methods do you have? Do you do more guerrilla style, or do you like send, like we got Tenstorrent just sent to us because we're developers and we asked. So, and I mean, we're happy to also work with it and port what engine we are doing to it. So I think everybody gets excited just the same way as we are. So what other like hacks like that do you have to engage people?
So we really try to meet developers where they are, which was the gist of Felix's talk, right? So what we try to do is facilitate whatever your genuine curiosity is. We try to hone in on that. So you're taking example of Marty. He was genuinely curious and excited to explore what this new architecture is. Then our job is to enable those kind of people in our community, those kind of developers in our community. And that's what we do. We provide them with engineering support, software support, hardware support, connect them with the right engineers. So it's a job of a community manager or developer relations person to really identify and understand who those community champions are, nurture those relationships, build on top of that, because what that brings is that person at the end, or that person after some time end up becoming your community champion or community ambassador. And all those things that you talked about, him coming to FOSDEM and talking about the stuff that he's doing, is all organically led. So you just cater to someone's genuine interest, nurture that, and you get to see the results. And that's what we also consider as one of the big win when it comes to community management and when it comes to building community for Tenstorrent. Initially, when it started, was us talking a lot about what we do, what all things is possible with our hardware, with our software. Then it slowly became an organic approach where the community is talking to other community members, talking within themselves, one community member answering another community member's questions, stuff like that. So once it becomes more organic, that's the ideal state we want it to be. And we are seeing some early signs of that. And we assume that this is going to just continue and explode to something which is more community driven, multiple projects, multiple interesting projects we are going to see. And also part of it, the big credit goes to our open source software approach. People are more comfortable when you have an open source approach or when you have an open source software to contribute. At the same time, if we had something closed source, it would be a little bit difficult to build community around it.
Absolutely. And what is your personal genuine interest? So I know you have a personal blog as well when you experiment a lot with things. So what excites you personally to tinker with? So what?
I'm really excited about the application layer of the AI ecosystem. So we have got this hardware, we have got the intermediate software, but what would you build on top of it? Like, how would an end user understand and realize the value of all the stuff that we are building in the ecosystem? And that's what helped me connect the dots at Tenstorrent. Like, what are the applications that people are looking at? What problem they want to solve that they can solve with the applications, the application software, and then through our hardware. So can they automate the stuff that they are doing currently? Can they build automated teams? Can they build multi-agent applications? Can they build LLM chatbots? Or can they build RAG applications that's grounded, that understands their data and answer questions around that? So we also saw some talks around how AI has been used, is getting more and more use in the coding stuff and all. So how can we build a code generation appliance that somebody can put in their desk and it automatically refactors, rebase, and indexes the code every time something changes, and be there as an assistant, be there as a partner when you code, and you can keep that entire data and all the things, your entire code on-prem on your machine. So things like that is what really interests me. Look at the higher level, top level use case and take it all the way to software and hardware level. So that really gives me an understanding of how we can actually build a hardware that would be useful for the end users.
Yeah, that's the true definition of a system, and it can get you the job done and have the whole stack and everything for that. So thank you so much for joining us. We really hope to see you next year as well at our AI Dev Room at FOSDEM, and we will do the next edition of AI Plumbers as well. So the nearest one would be actually in June. So we would be absolutely happy to have you there.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.